right here on the Paranormal 60 and Coast to Coast AM. His books, Scratching the Cosmic Conscious and the United Earth series, are not just fiction. They're shaped by recurring childhood dreams, real encounters, and his lifelong study of ufology and metaphysics. He was just a kid in New York City when the dreams began, vivid, recurring, and strangely prophetic. But these weren't ordinary nightmares. They were something more. Messages, memories, perhaps warnings. As Ramon Manuel Almonte grew older, the dreams didn't fade. They evolved. And they weren't alone. Paranormal visitations, ghostly figures, UFO encounters. Tonight, we meet the man who followed his dreams, literally, and uncovered a path of contact, consciousness, and cosmic truth. Dreams, ghosts, aliens, and the strange thread that binds them. We cover that next, right here on the very best in paranormal talk radio. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. You won't know. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings. Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. This is an interesting conversation we're going to have this evening, especially where it comes to dreams. Listen, my mom passed away 9 years ago, and I was confused as to why I never really had any contact. There was never this dream visitation. I never really felt or sensed her around. There were a few moments, flickering moments, where something would happen and I would call out and I would get what I believed to be a sign, but it was always questioning. Is that just wishful thinking? Is it me hoping or manipulating the experience into something that it truly wasn't? Well, as many of you know, my father just passed away on the 4th of July, and I'm living in his home now. Wasn't sure how to feel. I don't feel him. He passed away in this house, the house I grew up in. And I wasn't sure how it was going to feel to be here without him. And it sucks. It's weird. But last night, something remarkable happened. Not this part. This part sucked. I kept getting bumped on my flights, and I ended up supposed to be home by about 11:30 last night. Didn't get home till about 2:30 in the morning. And then I was restless. Couldn't sleep. Finally, about 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning, lights out. Your old buddy Dave, gone to the world. And it was one of those strange sleep scenarios where I'm dreaming, but aware that I have to be up at 10 because my daughter's coming to visit me today. I've got things on the docket I've got to handle. And as I'm doing this, suddenly my father very clearly, very distinctly appears in my dream. And I was very aware that this was not just a normal dream. But because I was bordering on that line of consciousness and unconsciousness, awake and sleep, I was scrambling, pulling at the threads to try to keep myself there talking with him. And I got the chance to say how much I love him. I got a chance to hear him as he spoke back to me. We got a chance to share a moment that we didn't in the way that things happened here. And that's really powerful to me. What's really great is a good friend of mine who is a medium named Scott, not our buddy Scotty Davis. But when I was out at an event a week ago, he came up to me and goes, I don't normally do this. I never give readings to people without their permission, but this is so strong. Your dad's coming through and he wants you to know he's sorry he can't be here with you. He was supposed to be here with you at this event and last event, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, he's really sorry, but he also wants me to tell you that he's sorry, and tell your boys he's sorry he can't be there this year. And what Scotty Rorick, my friend, the medium, did not know is that this year, for the first time in 4 years, we were all going to go back to Las Vegas together for Super Bowl. And my sons have been talking about how disappointed they are that the old man dropped out on us before we got this final trip in, and we've been trying to keep it lighthearted, and we're still going to go. So it's just kind of this interesting little dialogue of weird things and things coming together. But then last night to have this dream, and it was very it was very real. It was very real, like the one other true visitation dream I had with my grandfather. And again, because I was in this middling place, I knew that it was a dream. I knew that it was a visitation. And we got that chance to have this moment that I never got to have with him because of his quick passing. With my mom, she passed slowly over 6 months, as we said the long goodbye to cancer. But with my dad, it just came out of the blue. So this was really remarkable. And to show up in this short a period of time. And Scotty Rorick said to me, Dave, I want you to know he crossed over quickly. He was fine. He's having a great time. But now that he's crossed over, he's found a way back. He'll be coming back and making himself known. Within a week and a half of him telling me that, I have this dream visitation. I did wake up in tears because the fabric of reality was bleeding away as we were talking, and we got our chance to say things and hug, and it just literally unraveled in front of me as I came back to consciousness and just broke down in tears. Now, dreams, they're an interesting phenomena because is it just our grieving? Is it the way our brain is trying to process the stresses around us? That's what science would have you believe. But science is not always right. Science takes theories and concepts and ideas, but there are people around the world for centuries that have had dreams that are prophetic, dreams that are like a door opening to a different part of our world, to a different part of our consciousness. And our guest tonight is here to talk to us a little bit about that and his own very real experiences that he weaves into his books. So joining us right now, Ramon Almonte. Ramon, thank you so much for being here this evening and reaching out to be a part of the program.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. And I've watched your shows for many years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the books, as I mentioned, we've got Scratching the Cosmic Conscious, and then you've got a great 5-part series, United Earth, these sci-fi fantasy books, but again, that are coming from places of your reality. We have a link for Ramon on today's program guide so that you can find him, find his books, find his author page, and be able to purchase those books and keep up. But if you don't mind, as I was talking about your biography, Ramon, you talk about being very young and things started to come to you. Were they always in a dream form?
Yeah. Well, my family's from Dominican Republic, and especially on my father's side of the family, my dad and my grandparents always talked about extraterrestrials and changelings, which in Dominican Republic we call galipotes. This is a very common kind of thing. And then on my mom's side of the family, they also spoke about it, but it was more, my mom used to have a lot of premonitions, and some of them, I swear to you, they saved my life and my brothers and my sisters. So, you know, my mom is the kind of person that she would sense somebody and she'd be like, I don't like that person. It's like, Mom, you didn't give him a chance. No, my blood is saying I don't like that person.
Wow.
And if you didn't listen, well, you found out why she felt that way.
It is pretty remarkable, isn't it, Ramon, how intuitive mothers really are. I remember I used to think my mom was a witch because she would tell me things. You know, I remember I had my Evel Knievel. I can't say doll because that just hurts my heart. My action figure, my Evel Knievel action figure, and I wanted to take it to school that day to play and show off to all my friends. And she said, "You're going to get that thing soaking wet, and you're going to ruin it." And I'm like, "You're crazy! It's not even raining out, Mom. I'm taking it." And she's like, "You're going to ruin it." And I went, and it was dry all day, Ramon. And I was up on top of the slide and was going to slide him down the slide. And instead, as I was getting up there, I dropped him and he fell underneath the slide in the one single mud puddle that existed in the entire place. And I'd go home and I'd tell her, "You heathen, you witch, what kind of crazy shenanigans are you putting on me?" Mom's like, "We're moms, we know things." But I think there's something much more to that than just the fun and the idea that there's this woman's intuition. There is a reality to how synced in people are, and especially women.
Well, I mean, with moms, they have to be, because their job is, moms and dads, their job is to protect the child, right? And that's by any means necessary. So it's not always force. Sometimes it's intuition. And what I always found fascinating, especially where I grew up on the Upper West Side in New York City, I found fascinating that also people who, let me just say it this way, people who weren't in a good job position, doing things they shouldn't be doing, they were some of the most intuitive people I ever knew. Because, for example, I never got into that lifestyle, but I was around it a lot, and I would be sitting somewhere like, "Oh, I'm gonna go," and then where are you going? What's going? Oh, I gotta go, and they would leave, and then something would happen. It was like there was
Wow.
sense, the cops would come around or something. I I wasn't worried about it because I wasn't involved in that, but I just found it amazing how they would just know. It was like, nope, not doing that deal or something like that. And then the same thing with moms. I'll tell you a quick story where I was in college at the time and I was in Utica. And this weekend we were walking down this creek. We just want to go walk down the creek. I must have been 18 years old. And my mom called me that morning and she says, listen, you're going to get to a bridge and you're going to see three little black kids jumping off this bridge. Don't jump off the bridge because you're going to break your head. And I was like, Mom, there's no bridge. I don't know what you're talking about. Start walking down, maybe like a couple miles down. These three kids jumping off this small bridge. It wasn't a high bridge, but I 100% would have jumped off the bridge.
Wow.
And then I just took a step back and was like, not doing it. And then not only that, but I told my friends, don't do it. So and now that I'm a parent, I kind of feel that, I can sometimes sense when things are not right with my son, and my wife can also sense it as well. And the problem is that modern day, in ancient times, that's all you had, right?
Mhm.
You had your spear and you had your intuition and whatever knowledge you got. But in modern day, we make fun of people who talk about that, especially in this country. We don't share those. It's other than shows like this, it's very hard to share this, even with own family and friends. It's like, yeah, I don't want to hear that,
Right.
you know. But then what happens is that we all get pushed into places like this. So I guess it's a blessing in disguise.
Right. Well, sometimes in order to grow, we have to stretch beyond our comfort zone, right? We have to push beyond that bubble of protection that we put
Absolutely.
there. And we realize that once we get past that glass ceiling, it was only glass because we put it there. And
Exactly.
right. So going forth, it frees us up to be more in tune to the things around us. Now, you said as a child you grew up with just understanding that there were things, and you mentioned things even like changelings. Now, I'm curious from your background and perspective, when you hear things like skinwalkers, which is Native American indigenous people
Yeah.
beliefs, and you've got the changeling design, there's aliens, there's cryptids. Do you believe that they're all the same thing? It's just different titles for what we call them?
No, I think there's a lot of different types. You know, there's I'm not gonna say exactly who, but there's like somebody's cousin, supposedly great grandfather was a changeling in Dominican Republic, and from my understanding, it's they have to do something or sell something a part of the soul in order to become one. Um, and it's something very drastic. But when we go back to aliens, it's like saying like, okay, the frog and you and me, we're all the same. No, we're not. We are, but we're not. So with the extraterrestrials, you got your demons, and people like to lump everything up. And the other thing, and that going into the United Earth series, what I'm finding a lot of people doing now is that they're expanding their racism. And I'm not pointing at one person or one thing, but they lump all these things together and everything is bad. So do you know what I mean by
Yeah.
expanding their racism, their
Mhm.
prejudice? Let me say it that way. So I find that a
But do you
lot
find that
because
across the board, Ramon? It's not just a white person problem or a black person problem.
no, I'm talking from a human point of view.
Right.
I'm not talking from because the thing is, when we're talking to them, we're just human. All
Right.
that other BS that we get caught up in, like
Mhm.
hence why the name of my book is United Earth. Like we get caught up in the other BS, but once we start having landings and stuff like that, those guys that don't like each other, all of a sudden they're best of friends. You know,
Right.
um, and now they're going to expand their discrimination against those people from other stars. And that's going to happen.
Sure.
It's
Sad.
sad, but it's
Sad,
gonna
weird,
happen.
universal truth, right? I mean, it's so bizarre that we're all here together living one amazing possibility. And yet so many of us choose hatred and division, derision, anarchy, instead of finding a way to work together and have this conscious opening, have the world come together in a way that has maybe never been done before. We just still keep choosing alternate paths. Do you think that that has something to do with the demonic, with alien realms, with something interfering with us, trying to keep separation in a partisan way between us?
Let me put it this way. So that division and that war and all that stuff, that first is going to have to start within yourself.
Mhm.
So if you don't like yourself, if I don't like me, how am I going to like you?
Right.
Right. And I think that it's not that they're causing it, is that we're attracting it. Right. Because you're not a victim. You're responsible for your own reality. Yes, really messed up things happen out of your control. But the demonics and the things that feed off your energy, you're calling that, right? So if you're always sad and depressed, you're calling that type. So, there's a special on sadness. Oh, there's a special on anger. There's a special on lust.
Right.
So we call it in those things. And just like you have to shower yourself every day so you don't smell bad, you have to do things to cleanse your energy, cleanse your house. You like certain people would look at it as like, oh, I don't believe in that stuff. It's like, well, do you believe in washing your butt? Well,
Right.
because energetically, we just like when you step outside, especially for us, you wipe your head and it's like, oh, we gotta clean it. Well, it was the same thing with your energy. You step outside, you deal with certain characters, and you get that energy on you, or you walk, past certain. I'm sure you've experienced this because you've been to many ghost houses where you walk into areas and it's like, whoa, I need to
Yeah.
get out of here. And that's another thing that I've experienced a lot, which is going into places and knowing I should leave for whatever reason, sensing that energy.
But is it okay? So that's fascinating. As we're talking paranormal and reality here, it reminds me of what I think is an interesting deal. When I first moved up to the Minneapolis area, I was, in my very early 20s, and it was late one night, and I needed cash to go eat someplace because we'd been drinking and screwing around all night with our friends. So I went up to the ATM, which was this kind of glass enclosed ATM. There was three of us that were there. There was a very large Hispanic man, there was a very large African-American man, and there was me. And I remember having this anxiety, which I didn't understand because I'd never had anxiety around people of different colors before. And automatically I was on alert. I'm doing this. And they say, well, that's good, Dave. You should always be aware of your surroundings, which I understand. But this felt foreign to me. It didn't feel right. And I wasn't comfortable. But what I thought was interesting is the African-American man got his money out and then he stepped back, and instead of leaving the vestibule, he stood in the corner. So now I've got this large Hispanic man in front of me. I've got this large African-American man standing behind me. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't like where this is going. Why am I now sandwiched in the middle? And then the Hispanic man turns and looks at me, and he goes and he steps back into the other side of the vestibule. And I'm like, son of a gun. Do I just put my money card away and walk out of here? And I'm like, nope, don't let this get you. You can't be racist. You can't let this get you. And I did my card, and I turned around and I got the money. And we all just kind of stood there and had this moment where it's like something out of a John Woo movie, right? All we need is a slow moving pigeons flying between us. And we all just kind of stood there and looked. And almost in the same moment, we all started to laugh. And he goes, so you're not here to rob us? One of the guys said to me, and I go, me? And then they all started laughing. They go, why? Because we're got color on us. We're the one going to rob you. I said, I just walked into a vestibule with one black guy, one brown guy. I'm the only white guy. And you both stop and move to the back of the vestibule after getting your money. How would you feel? And they go, I stayed because I wanted to make sure he was going to get out of here and you weren't going to hold him up. And the guy goes, I did the same thing to protect you. And so it was funny that all three of us, for
Thought
no
that
good
the
reason,
other,
thought that one of us was going to rob the other. And I'm not an intimidating looking guy. I mean, we were all around the same height, maybe around the same kind of builds, but it was just so funny that was our first inclination, and we all just laughed about it and parted ways, and that was it. And I always, that just stays in my mind as just a fun moment of how stupid things are, but we each picked up on each other's anxiety as well. And I think that's
yeah,
what triggered us, is somebody had a little, oh crap, I don't want to be in here. There's two more people in here. That can't go my way. And you don't know how it's going to shift and turn. And again, it's always good to be aware, and spatially aware, but you realize how connected we really are, that all three of us had the same sense, and we all were worried and protecting one another and protecting ourselves at the same time. So there is this connectivity that really does exist in humanity. And if we start taking more note of that, man, what a wonderful world this would be, right?
yeah, it's 100%. Well, I mean, it's the whole idea of, like, for example, you want to be an amazing baseball player, so you're gonna hang out with other baseball players. If you're gonna hang out with other high energy people, you're gonna pick up on that. Absolutely.
Right,
And if you're gonna hang around people who, attract a lot of negative things, you're going to attract that.
right.
But before I forget, there's a dream that kind of reminds me of the situation you had with your dad, and it was my friend's dad had passed away. I hope you don't mind me jumping subject real quick.
No, come on.
Um,
This is a conversation between two guys getting to know each other, sharing stories, and that's what the people love. That's what I love.
where's the beer then?
Right.
But anyway, so
That's Wednesday nights, Ramon. Come on.
at the time I was living in Japan, and I had came here, and I came to the US for a funeral, and I had this dream in Japan, but the dream was my friend's dad came to visit me, and I said, "Hey, do you have something you want me to tell your kids?" And he said something, but it sounded like a different language. Then, for some crazy reason, the next night I saw him again, and I said, "I couldn't understand what you were saying." So he was saying, "Hey, tell my son so and so that I love him." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I could do that." So then I run into his brother when I came here for the funeral, and I said, "Hey, your brother so and so, your dad told me to tell him he loves him." He says, "You need to tell him that." And I was like, "Why?" He was like, "No, you need to tell him that." So I ran into him, told him, and then he was like, "Oh, I didn't. That's not my real dad." And I was like, "I didn't know that." So mind you, like, I grew up, I'm best friends with his brother, and my brother's best friend with them, and I was just like, "Whoa, I never knew that." And I was
Hmm.
like, now it makes sense, but I had no clue. And I'm not sitting here and saying that I'm a medium. Then please do not call me for a reading. Um,
Well, not with that attitude, Ramon. You've got to embrace the gift. Let me ask you this.
I do. Go ahead.
You talk about prophetic concepts and ideas, and that you pick up on these connections and things are going on. I had a very sweet friend of mine talk to me this weekend. She senses tragedy before it comes. She feels so overwhelmed and broken by it, because she said, "Why do I get this gift that I can do nothing with? I
Ooh,
don't know what's coming, how it's coming." And I got to tell you, the weirdest thing happened to me, Ramon. I kind of sat back and I looked at her and I said, "I think you're looking at the gift improperly. You're looking at this as a gift, as though this was something bestowed upon you." And I said, "It's no more bestowed upon you than the wind blowing the petals off of a dandelion." She goes, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Things happen. You necessarily weren't picking up precognitively the event that was going to happen to your family, but like a rock being thrown in a lake, which is ahead of you, the
yeah,
rock hits the water and those ripples come back to where you are. And what happens is that traumatic moment was so impactful that it broke the skin, broke the surface of time and space, and you felt that slap back. You felt that hit. It didn't mean you could do a damn thing about it, but it shows how in tune you are to the people that you love, that you felt what was coming. And maybe that's what kept you alive when it happened, because I don't know many other people that could drive 4.5 hours after receiving a phone call that her sister, brother-in-law, niece, and niece's friends are all being life lifted to different hospitals because
Oh
of
man.
this tragic accident. And I said, but you already kind of were pre-prepared for something coming. And it wasn't something you could make any difference about, but you were able to get there to be there for your family and especially your niece who called for you. And you were already halfway there. You went to her and were able to be at her side.
Oh, so
So
she started driving over there before it happened.
no, she drove there. Once she got the call and heard about it,
Okay.
she got in. But like I said at the beginning, right? Mom, we had the long goodbye. It was cancer. We found out about it in June. She was gone by November. My dad shocked me because we never saw this coming, and it's disorienting. This tragedy, although she didn't know exactly what was coming, prepared her. This ripple effect prepared her so that when it hit, she was able to focus on what was important at that moment, was getting to the people that needed her most. And it wasn't just that shock of the immediacy of finding out where nothing, you know, I heard my father had died, and anybody that talked to me, I kept telling them to shut up and move away from me, get out of the room. I didn't want to talk to my wife, my kids, nobody. Literally in my head was this cacophony of noise. Every memory, every sound wave, everything my cousin just said to me, the police just said to me, just everything was banging in my head because it all hit right then. That was the moment the rock hit the water for me.
Yeah.
For her, it happened a week and a half before the tragedy. So she was more prepared in a sense of not knowing what the tragedy is, but she was on guard. So
Yeah.
I thought I think that gave her a little relief, realizing there's nothing you can do with this gift, but you did do something with it. You were ready to go do something that most people would have fallen apart when you find out that all 4 of these people that you know and love may not survive. I don't know many people that could get in their car and just make the drive. But,
Yeah, I would have a hard time driving.
Right.
But
But is that, do you find, and I have to take a quick break, we'll come back, but knowing what you know about premonitions, knowing what you know about getting these dream visitations, these dream messages, should we be more open instead of always trying to pigeonhole that this is what it means? This is, oh, I didn't get this. I didn't get that. I didn't see this. I couldn't translate that. Should we, instead of being so focused on the overall picture, just realize that what happened is something special, is something that's what we should start to learn to live with and how to analyze that. We'll talk more with our guest, Ramon Almonte, when we return. And remember, there's a link for our guest on today's program guide, so you can find more there. We'll be back with more of the very best in paranormal talk radio right after this.
Oh, are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
Hey, my friends, I'm excited about this, and I hope you are too. This weekend, it is the 2nd annual Bowling Green Bigfoot Mini-Con, and I get to be there. Dave, what do you have to do with Bigfoot? Well, you'll have to come out to the Mini-Con to find out, but I'll be there with Dr. Maria Mayer, Russell Acord. We got a lot of other great speakers that are going to be on hand for an amazing weekend. It's just absolutely phenomenal, and I think you're going to start to see, like tonight's conversation, how close each one of these different genres of the supernatural, the unknown really are, and how we are all truth seekers when it comes right down to it. There's information at the website. You can just go straight to darknessevents.com, scroll down to the Bowling Green Bigfoot Mini-Con, and you'll be able to link up there, find all the information, get tickets. There's not a whole lot of tickets left, but come on out. You want to see me? I'm going to be out in Kentucky this coming weekend, and I hope that you'll join me. Our guest this evening, Ramon Almonte. I like to try to roll the R's, Ramon, so I hope you don't mind. I feel like you
not at all.
You deserve the international twist of that.
Not at
instead
all.
of just, yeah, here's Raymond Almonte. And I asked you before the break, you know, precognition, these dream deals, what should be our focus instead of the things we're not getting an understanding? What do you think should be the takeaway for people when they're dealing with things like this?
I think as soon as you feel something, dream something, any kind of sense, the first thing you want to do is write it down. And then sometimes, because there are dreams I've had and I write them down, and then years later, I'm doing something and it snaps together. All of a sudden, whatever I'm doing, it could be something as simple as like picking up this pen, and all of a sudden, it brings that dream, forward, and I start to analyze it then, because sometimes you're given a seed to let it germinate, let it grow into something. Maybe energetically, physically, psychologically, spiritually, whatever, you're not ready for it yet, and it's for it to grow. Or it could be something that you need to deal with right now.
Right.
There's certain dreams I had where I dream of me and this person getting into it, and then I run into this person, and it's almost like the timeline change, and I remember the dream again, but it doesn't go that way. So
Okay.
it's like something shifted, and it feels like deja vu and a dream all at the same time. So something shift.
Do you think
But
it's because you had something happen that was a premonition before, so your brain has already been working on a way to fix the situation or adapt to it so that when it actually hits, it's slightly off because your consciousness was already ahead of the track on this?
yeah, it's almost like you switch tracks or reality, as some people, the big popular thing now is quantum jumping,
Mhm.
um, and change, because we're always trying to adjust to these different timelines and the different points of view to go towards your higher self, the
Mhm.
part, for example, like with you, your calling is to talk about these things, bring these things out to light. For me, is to write. So there are things that are going to push you that way. So I'll give you an example. So when I started writing this book here, this one here, originally it was supposed to be going to Agartha. For those of you not familiar with the Hollow Earth theory,
Mhm.
there's a city down there, and it was supposed to be about that. And all of a sudden, it starts shifting towards going into space. And the reason I'll bring it back to what you were talking about is that there are things that will nudge you, or sometimes straight out tell you, like, nope, um, go this way or don't do that. And that's when, you know, and then I feel like it's giving you the idea. So, what could have happened. You saw that it changed. It's not that you could have done anything about it. It's more that, boom, you just expanded.
Okay. So
You
it's an
know,
awakening within reality. It's a
exactly. So becoming, because that's what awakening is becoming more and more aware of what your reality is. Now more and more people talk about um, manifesting things, and of course, it's very easy to manifest small things, meaning like, I've always wanted some marbles from this place, whatever, with this design, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I have these marbles, you want them? And
right.
it's exactly what I've always wanted, but because I wasn't emphasizing on it, I just kind of put it out there and it came to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So,
I
um,
do. So it is like things like deja vu. Maybe instead of just letting this moment be a weird, quirky moment, maybe this is when you need to become more aware of the moment you're in, not the moment you think that you've experienced multiple times. But maybe that and this led you to a nexus point, right? The quantum leap, that what happens next is totally in your hands. And you have
yeah.
to be aware that this moment might mean something more than it would before.
Well, the problem with human beings, and this includes myself, is that we want an exact explanation. We want to know exactly how it works, how to do it all the time, and that's not how reality works.
Hmm.
So you have to feel into it. it's not going to be the same for Dave as it's going to be for Ramon or so and so. You know, it's not going to work the same way because we're different. We're different islands. We're different universes.
Right.
So you need to feel into it in whichever way you're more comfortable. For me, a lot of gut feelings is always been very important. And I can tell you, like, for those of you who don't know how to use it, a way to train your gut is ask yourself 2 questions. So one is extremely positive, the other one is extremely negative. For example, should I do a lot more meditation? And then feel how you feel. It might be in your chest or it might be in your stomach. And then go to the extreme opposite. Should I start doing hardcore drugs? And then feel how that feels. The whole point of it is not for you to start doing those things, but you're training your gut slowly and then ask questions that way to train your gut. So when something does pop up, you know what that feels like right away. Because
Oh,
the
I
thing
gotcha.
is, sometimes it's going to happen and you're not going to know the feeling of it. But other times, you know, for some people, it might be the gut. Other people, it might be the solar plexus. Some people, it's the skin. The skin feels like it wants to jump off of you and take off,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I've had all of that at some point. Right. And
Exactly.
it's learning.
Especially when you go into creepy places, that's when you really will feel the skin part. I think
Yeah.
that's the one that would jump the most.
Talk to me about some of the things that have visited you. You know, have you seen spirit not only in dream form but in physical form? Have you seen
More
aliens?
dream than physical, but I'll
Okay.
tell you a story. It's a funny one, actually. Um, because where I was at throws all my credibility out the window. Um, so I was at a bar in Tokyo. So I lived in Japan for 12 years, and I was there
Okay.
with my wife and her friend. And this old man comes in, and he's, same as us, and he has
Devastatingly
glasses.
handsome. Yeah, I gotcha.
Exactly. There we go.
Right.
And so he sits down next to me, and he's waiting to order a drink. And there's another man, what they call salary men. Those are the businessmen, Japanese men, sitting next to him. So I'm seeing him from the corner of my eye. And when I look over, there's nobody there. And I'm like, that's impossible. So I turn to my wife and I tell her, like, I just saw a ghost. And she was like, oh my God. And of course, I was having a drink. So that throws all my credibility out the window. But my question always
No,
is like, well,
because
here's my question.
here's the thing though, right?
Yeah,
Ramon, you throw it out the window, but it was in that moment that you weren't focused on seeing anything in particular, that you were relaxed. So
enough
that's
to,
when the wall was down and the things that are around us all the time were able to be seen. I think we have more ghost encounters than we ever give each other credit for. We're
yeah.
probably bumping into ghosts all the time that we just don't realize is a ghost.
Or
We
the
just
shadow people. That's a big one.
right, right.
Um,
It's a
But
fleeting
here's
view
the
of
thing
us.
that I always say when people say that is, well, I have a drink every night. How come I'm not seeing this every night? You know, like I've never really known alcohol to cause hallucinations.
Oh, I've had those nights, Ramon. Let me tell you,
Well,
they
that's
do
called too
happen.
much gin. That's how it
Right.
is.
But here's the thing, right? Because when you're like, well, maybe if I have a drink or two, that'll put me in that place. It becomes like the double slit experiment. It becomes
Yeah.
something you're now witnessing. When you're trying, you can't see it. It's like those pictures that were all the rage in the late 1980s or early 1990s, those wavy pattern pictures where it just looked like wavy lines. But if you looked at it and beyond it, and you just allowed your eyes to see beyond it, you could see the Statue of Liberty pop out of this picture. And it was
Oh yeah, I know what
clear
you're
as
talking about.
day. So how is it that I can see it, but another day I can't for the life of me see that? Why do you see
Unfocusing your eyes and
right?
relaxing them. Yeah.
Why do you see the dress as white and gold and I see purple and black? And then another day I see it as white and gold. You're just in a different subset. And if you start trying to, like you said, overanalyze and put things in a box, I think that you rob yourself of the experience as opposed to just letting things be.
Well, it's really hard not to be analytical
Right.
about everything. Um, but to a certain degree, like even with everyday thing like, what is my career choice? At one point or another, you're going to have to take a risk and go for it. And it's going to be all intuition.
Right.
I don't care how you analyze it, how you want to, put it into place. At one point or another, you're just going to have to trust that this is the right move. And there's no floor showing you're just going to have to jump, and you don't know if there's a bridge on the other side, or you're just going to fall to your doom. You have no idea. So we live with this every day, every time you cross the street, every time you get in your car. And at one point, sometimes, I'll tell you another story. I was running late for work, and I was talking to my friend on the phone. And when I get in the car, we drive off. I drive off by myself. And had I left right on time, I might not be here. I was running a few minutes late. All I had to do was leave right on time, 5 minutes earlier. And this car because for some reason, some people don't know how to read the word stop. And they just blow right through it. And this other car, I would have been that car had I left at my normal time. But because I was running late, that car did not hit me. I got out the car and I helped pull the windshield so the guy could. Luckily, the guy walked out. He just had the small scrapes and bruises, thank God. But I felt that could have been me, and I was just blown away.
And were you stressed out because you were running late and irritable and irritated because you weren't in the path you were on? Right? Isn't it funny? I've tried to note when that hits me. I start thinking, oh, what is the universe doing right now? Because this is some of the stuff is like, Final Destination.
Sometimes you're supposed to be late.
Right. Final Destination feel like it's like, oh, could one more fucking thing go wrong today? And sure as hell it does. And you're like, what the? Who's screwing with me? And then you realize that had you been there in that 30-second window, it might have been Ramon, not the guy in the other car. Right.
Yeah.
And maybe just instead of getting frustrated, take a deep breath and realize there may be something bigger at play. Your ancestors, your guardians, your angels, the ghost, maybe yourself. Let's get all timey-wimey and wibbly-wobbly here, Ramon, right? But how often do you lay in bed thinking about those moments you regret? Man, if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have broken my leg. It wouldn't have ended my football career. I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway. Damn it. And you keep sending those messages. You got to be
careful. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, you might actually impact forward and backward aspects of you jumping timelines. I think that's a very big reality. I think you can influence your own timeline. You just have to learn to do it in a positive way.
Absolutely, you can. I've definitely seen plenty of people do it. It's very easy to see people do it in a negative way. It's harder to see in the opposite, because usually those people who start changing their mindsets to more positive, they start shifting to be around more of those kind of people. Mm-hmm. So if you have a tendency to think negative, which we all do, it happens.
Sure.
They start moving away from you, so you don't really get to see it. But then you start seeing it in your own life, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it.
Let's do this. We have to take our final break. We'll come back. We've got more with our guest. Again, check out the links. Don't just read the books. Pick them up, buy them, read them, rate and review them, because that does go such an amazing way to help all of our guests so that they get their books seen by a much bigger, broader audience. We'll be back with more right after this.
Now, during the Halloween season, the veil between the worlds gets thinner and the chills get real. Oh, so very real. Something is waiting in the dark, and it's calling your name. So answer the call this Halloween season for the Paranormal 60 presents Halloween Haunts and Hijinks, October 9th through the 12th, for a supernatural weekend you'll never forget. It's being held at the historic haunted Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Join Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, and the host of the Paranormal 60 podcast. He's teaming up with Dalen Spratt from Ghost Brothers and Phantom Forensics. And we have heart-centered, intuitive Diet Renee for a weekend packed with spine-tingling experiences. You'll have 2 nights of live investigations and paranormal experiments, interactive workshops, gallery readings, and meet and greets, live presentations with experts themselves. This isn't just an event, it's a doorway to the unknown. So you have to ask yourself, do you dare cross it? Now, tickets are limited, so please book your Halloween haunts and hijinks adventure now at darknessevents.com. Again, that is darknessevents.com.
I know among you there are so many naysayers. You feel that you have a gift, but you're afraid to let it happen. You're afraid to lean into it. You're afraid to make that step because it might make you vulnerable. What does it mean if you see these things, can have these experiences, are open to the other side, but yet you want answers? Well, then let me recommend this. Open yourself to somebody who's adept at helping, somebody that can open those doors and walk through these doors with you hand in hand, that can help give you answers, guide you with the information that you're projecting, that is helping the cards read you. And if you want more information about that, check this out.
Have you ever felt like something or someone was trying to tell you something? That inner nudge, that quiet whisper from the universe, with intuition sharpened by years of spiritual connection and a deep-rooted gift. Winnie Schrader delivers readings that are compassionate, insightful, and shockingly accurate. Whether you're facing a crossroads healing from heartache, or just curious what the cards reveal, Winnie creates a safe, sacred space to explore your journey. This isn't fortune cookie fluff. This is honest, intuitive guidance from someone who's helped hundreds find clarity, closure, and confidence. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Book your session now at lovelotustarot.com and take control of your journey. That's lovelotustarot.com. Winnie's sessions are personal, powerful, and often life-changing. That's lovelotustarot.com.
So many people get that first reading, they open themselves up and realize that there is a whole world in front of them, and it inspires them. Get inspired. Check it out. Get a reading for yourself. There's a link for Winnie's readings, Love Lotus Tarot, on today's program guide as well. And please support all the advertisers that support this program. Our guest, Ramon Almonte. And that just sounds like you and I should be doing dancing partners on Paranormal Dancing with the Stars together.
There we go.
Let's.
I can dance.
Well, that's one of us. I'm very good at standing in place and doing the white man overbite. So if that ever counts as a professional dance move, I pretty much nailed it.
You got that one?
Yeah.
So I want to say, if we ever run into each other, I'm going to buy you a round. Just the first one.
I will gladly do that, and I will buy you the second, third, and fourth round, because I think
there we go.
What you're doing and sharing so many people get ideas and they're creative and they want to write, they want to share these things. You've done that, and you've allowed the universe to speak through you so that you can speak to the hearts, minds, and imaginations of people around the world with your amazing books. And I really respect that, because again, it shows that you're opening up to the supernatural and accepting of what it is. Finding the gifts within what you're being told and what's being shared with you allows you to make it accessible to so many others in a fun and entertaining way. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you some stories about that with the
Please.
United Earth books, especially those books feel very heavily guided. I remember first of all, I did not want to write a series. I just wanted to do standalones. And as I'm working on the standalone, then that turned into 3 books. And on the 3rd book, I said, I'm just going to whack everybody. Everybody's just going to get whacked, the whole team. And I had this dream, and I'm in Japan at a deli, and I'm picking out the different meats and cheese to put on my sandwich. And I said, don't be so serious. Have fun with it. And I knew exactly what she was talking about. She was telling me, about the ending I was thinking of. And not only that, but I've had whole entire scenes in book 2 and book 3. I'm watching TV and I'm watching all my characters do their thing, and then as soon as I wake up, I start writing down exactly what I saw. And other times it will come to me as another story where in my dream, I was at my mom's house here in Florida, and I see two grays. It's nighttime. Two grays walk by the window, and I'm like, "Oh, those are grays." And a part of me gets scared, another part of me gets super excited. Yay, aliens! Um, but then all of a sudden, I'm back in New York City, this corner on 109th Street where I grew up, and there's this Pleiadian woman and this lady who has African features, but her skin is like a violet kind of purple. And I want to say they're arguing, but not in the sense of the way humans argue. It's
Okay.
more like they're discussing it, but they're not getting emotional the way we would.
Okay.
So basically, she's saying she's not supposed to be here. And I was like, why not? It was like, because this planet is only for scientists, archaeologists. So you need a special visa to come here.
Hmm.
And she was a tourist. So I took that whole idea, I changed it up, but I took that whole idea and put it into my books. I don't know if they were like trying to inform me of something or telling me. And sometimes I'll have dreams where I feel like the extraterrestrials are telling me something to put into my books. And other times I would hear them say, like, can't really tell you about that because someone will get offed. And I was like, really? But of course, they don't answer back at that point. So it's like, oh, come on.
You ever say, "Hey, is that person me?"
No, I don't. Well, think about it. If someone is in some very
Compartmentalized. Yep.
thank you. Department, and they only know this information, well, who leaked it to that guy, the author?
Right.
Well, it must have been you. So
Oh,
that's what
gotcha.
happens to you, buddy. So I think it's that kind of situation, at least for my dreams. Call me crazy, I don't care. Been called worse things. But my books, especially with the United Earth, again, they've been heavily influenced by ufology. So you'll find the Pleiadians, Draconians, the Greys in there, and Prey Mantis or another one. So where I'm very different with the whole extraterrestrial thing is I want to learn more about their culture. What makes their society tick? What do they eat? Do they dance? Do they have families the same way we do? How is our societies the same? Because when I lived in Japan and I've been to Malaysia and Korea, and I just become completely fascinated with the way different cultures do different things, and then more fascinated with what actually is the same. And they're looking at me like, "Oh no, you're different. You're from over there," and I'm like, "Yeah, but this is the same." But they don't see that because they're not seeing it from a wider perspective.
Right.
Your architect, your food, oh, that's where it comes from. Got it. You know, a good example would be to bring it back to a smaller thing. If you look at Dominican food and then you go to Ghana, you'll see the similarities. So that kind of thing. So now making that much wider and going into space, what similarities are we going to find between, let's say, the Pleiadians and humans? Do we like to eat a certain dish this way or not? I know certain people would just make them sound all godly like, but I'm like, they're a living person like me. They breathe. They might have more of an awareness than I do, but they're just like me trying to figure it out.
Have you ever, in all of these experiences, been afraid of the things that you're learning or seeing?
I think when I was younger, I would be more afraid. The big one was, and then certain people in my family experienced it too, which is the blue light that you see when they close the door. And some people say, "Oh, that's because of the light bulbs and thing," but it's like an orb floating around, like a blue orb. And it's never happened to me as an adult, but it used to happen to me all the time as a kid. And it happened to another family member of mine's. And they would tell me about it. I was like, "Oh, I don't know what that means." But
Do you
with
think
the
that the dream phenomena itself, do you believe that it is something that is to do with a higher consciousness. Do you think that it's not just a dream, but it is an altered reality, meaning that we are there, we are living that moment, we are having those experiences, the ghosts, the aliens, the cryptids, the whatever we're running into are part of that realm as well. And sometimes we're just seeing fleeting moments of them. They're noticing fleeting moments of us. How do you think this all ties together?
The way I look at dreams personally is a thermometer that goes over your entire life. So your personal life, your business life, your psychological, spirit, energetical, whatever. And it's every night it's gonna show you, depending how developed you are in remembering your dreams, it's gonna show you where you're at. So example, if you're energetically very low, you're going to dream of being in a very bad neighborhood because energetically you're in a horrible neighborhood. Or if you're around people who are no good, I'll give you a really quickly because I know we're getting at the end of the hour. There was these two people that I used to hang out with when I was 18. And I had a dream that I was in a garbage dump, dragging myself because I couldn't walk, dragging myself around this dump. And they were just sitting there laughing at me. Well, what do you think the dream means? That they're energetically dragging me through a garbage dump and laughing at me. So I knew from that point on to pull away from those people because energetically they were dragging me through the garbage, literally. So
your consciousness, your subconsciousness, and your higher self were showing you all of the different versions of this in ways that there's no way to have to wonder, what does this mean?
Exactly.
That's amazing. I know this is a big question, and with 3.5 minutes left here, just I'll pull the cord and you go. But what is it that with the work that you've done in the books and your presentations and live speaking, what is it that you hope most people can get from your journey that you really want to impart on people?
The biggest one is that you are more than you believe you are, that you can do a lot more than you give yourself credit for. And you've done so much that you've taken it for granted. And that's why I always tell a lot of people who ask me about writing, especially, make a list of all the accomplishments and start with the very simple thing as learning to pick up your head as an infant and learning to walk, learning to potty training, learning to sleep. And many of you are really good at it right now. But that was years of training because when you're first born, you don't know how to do that. So that's the biggest thing. And you'll find out with my characters that they come from nothing, from broken homes, and they build and gone into space and done all these amazing things. And you can too. You just have to believe in yourself and believe in the things that the universe is telling you because it wants you to be more than what you are.
And right, how brilliant an idea and a concept that, listen, when you're a baby, you're laying there, gravity's winning, man. You're on the ground. Your arms aren't working right. Your head's not working right. Your legs aren't
Your
working
vision's
right.
not working right.
Right. You're just there, but it never stops. A baby never just goes, well, screw this. I might as well just lay here.
I'm done. Yeah.
Become a molten, right? Instead, every day they push their head up a little bit further and they smile, and then they might crash to the floor, but they push their head back up. And we forget sometimes that the journey is not just about where you're at, it's what it took to get where you're at. And you started barely slithering on your tummy across that floor. And now look at you. Even if you are arthritic and hobbled over, you're moving better than you did when you started.
Exactly.
And you're able to do this. So the hard things are going to take some work. And if that means developing your brain and your consciousness to excel and go beyond what normal lives are so that you can have a truly magical life, do it. You got to start breaking those boundaries. But I'm afraid, what if all this worry and concern about what could happen tomorrow, you're sitting there worrying about it and a plane hits your house tonight. You wasted the last hours of your life worrying about what might happen tomorrow instead of just being in the moment now.
What if it all works out? What if it actually goes better than you ever thought? What if actually you not only accomplish what you were trying to accomplish, but 10x it to a point where you couldn't even fathom? That's not even you anymore. You just became a whole new person. What if you grew beyond your confines?
God bless you, Ramon. Thank you so much for sharing and opening up. And I know you're going to be on Coast to Coast here soon, spending 2-3 hours on an upcoming episode. You're going to go even deeper. So people keep up with Ramon by going to his website, seeing what he's got going on. Pick up his books, read the books. Give yourself a chance to learn and educate yourself while being entertained and having a great time. Again, you can find his book, Scratching the Cosmic Conscious, and his now 5-part series, United Earth. They're all available on Amazon and wherever you buy your favorite books. And make sure not only to buy the books, read the books, but rate and review the books. Ramon, thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate it. And I owe you that beer.
All right. I will hold you to that, my friend. Thank you so much. What if your dreams weren't just dreams? What if the beings you saw, the voices that you hear, the places you traveled while sleeping, what if they're all real? And for R.M. Almonte, those questions aren't just musings. They've shaped a life. From haunted nights in New York to far-flung travels in Japan, his story reminds us that transformation can come from the most mysterious of places if we're brave enough to follow the signs. So are you brave enough, my darklings? May the darkness of this world be just a little lighter with the information we share here each week. We'll be back again Wednesday with the Paranormal 60 News crew for some laughs, some fun, and camaraderie. Thank you for joining us tonight. And until next time, keep watching the skies and pay attention to your dreams. Dream big, my darklings, because what if it is just that easy?